Hardly anyone who had to swim would survive. Armor. We need one full set of armor. Leave everything else, I explained. Between the five of us, six, because Smythe, of course, interpreted my orders broadly and came back into the cargo box with us, we got all the components for a set of armor. Leave it, I ordered, as Smythe tried to pick up a rifle. That's in order. Go. Behind me, I closed and firmly latched the door to the cargo compartment where almost all our precious supplies were stored. Water, bitterly cold water, was already collecting around my ankles as we squeezed through the door, bumping into each other as the RV rocked back and forth. Water was pouring in through the right side emergency hatch. I saw people were shuffling along the right pontoon to hop into the water. Patel and Crispin were still in the RV. They'd given up trying to get out the right side hatch, and Patel was working the controls of the roof hatch. He got it open, took hold of the lip around the hatchway, and swung himself through it. At this point, the RV was at a 45-degree angle to the left and bucking like a bronco as it slid backwards, battered by waves. How we all got out, I don't remember exactly. Somehow, both Smythe and Williams got out behind me, even though I'd intended to be the last to leave. By the time Smythe came through the hatch, the RV was almost laying on its left side, and we had to crawl along the right side to the nose, kneel on the front window, and jump into the water. It was up to my chest, and I gasped in shock at the deathly cold. The cold and strong current, combined with the armor suit leg I had a death grip on, made me unsteady. I would have fallen backwards and been swept away, except people had formed a human chain to the shore. Ranger Samuels got a firm grip on my arm and guided me to shore. "Thank you," I told her, and handed the armor suit leg to her once the water was only as deep as my waist. I stood in the shockingly cold water, trying to ignore it, helping Williams and then Smythe get to safety. More importantly, assuring the precious components of the armor suit got safely to shore. As Smythe, last to leave, jumped off the nose, the RV lurched backwards, partly afloat again. We got onto the shore, me crawling the last meter on my hands and knees, and we all stood in stunned silence for a moment as we watched the RV drift down the river, sinking quickly, until it hit and became wedged between two rocks. Then it slowly disappeared. The right pontoon was visible under the water from time to time in the troughs of waves. Shaking myself back to awareness, I stepped onto a rock so I could see the assembled crowd. "Is anyone hurt, other than wet and cold?" "Mild ankle sprains, nothing more," Dr. Zhang reported as she was kneeling next to Lieutenant Zhang. He had his right boot off and winced as Zhang manipulated his ankle. "I'm fine, Colonel. I stumbled on a rock," Zhang assured me. "Good," I said, stupidly. Damn, as a commanding officer, I wasn't being very helpful. "Captain Smythe, we have a lot of people in cold, wet clothing here, and a storm is coming." The wind was now gusting, and rain was occasionally coming down almost sideways. "Find us someplace out of the weather, and make sure everyone uses their heat packs if needed. I don't want anyone getting sick out here." Everyone had, or should have, chemical packets that could be mixed to generate heat. They're available in any hardware or sporting goods store, not some fancy alien technology. "Lieutenant Williams, you SEALs are our swimmers. Bring the suit components over here. Let's put it together and see what we can do with it." Chapter 23. While Williams and his team got the suit sorted out, checked out, and tailored into it, I took a moment to get my head together. This could be a disaster. All our equipment, all our weapons, all our food, all our extra clothing, tents, everything we needed for survival was in that sunken RV. I was in shock, trying to process how things had gone so bad so quickly. Skippy later figured out what happened. The storm had dumped an enormous deluge of water to the north of us. Water that very rapidly rushed downstream, swelling the river. Because a tongue of a glacier blocked 2/3 of the river channel, the water briefly piled up behind the glacier until the pressure fractured off pieces of ancient ice, and the wall of water found a path downstream. When we arrived at the river, we should have noticed that the water was already over its usual banks. That was why there was a nice, gentle, grassy slope for us to drive down. We should have been suspicious. I should have been suspicious of the high water. I thought it an optical illusion that the river seemed to be rising. It wasn't an illusion. The chunks of ice floating down the river should also have caused me to be extra cautious. There was a lot of ice in the water. If I'd ordered us to wait for morning like I should have, we would have noticed that the water level was rising and more and larger chunks of ice were coming around the bend upriver. I was too damned eager to get across the river before the storm hit us. Like an idiot, I had not even considered what the storm might be doing upriver. It was both an accident and my fault. Looking back, I should have taken more time to study the river, even pulled the RV back under a bluff to shelter for the night, and crossed the next morning. We were ahead of schedule. The RV had enough juice left in its power cells for another day and a half before we would need to find a place to hide it and begin walking. Maybe waiting for the morning would have avoided the disaster, or maybe we would still have gotten rammed by a mini iceberg. There was still plenty of them floating down the river. Williams was satisfied the suit was fully operational, and he reported Taylor was ready to try using it in the water. "We're going to go for a test, sir," he reported. "Skippy," I asked, "what's our weather forecast?" He responded immediately. "The storm to the north has abated somewhat and shifted its track to the west. I now expect most of it to miss your location. You will get gusty winds and rain in about 2 hours, lasting several hours." "Thank you, Skippy." "All right," I declared. "Let's move now before the weather gets worse. The longer the RV is in the water, the greater risk it will shift, or equipment will spill out and get lost downstream. It would be best for a recovery operation to wait for morning, but we don't have that long." "We recover weapons first," Smythe suggested. "No," I said emphatically. "Taylor, your first priority is to recover the parts for another suit. Then 2 divers can get the components for the other 2 suits. We need the suits first. We don't know how long it will take to get everything we need out of the RV, and a single suit may run out of power before that. We'll use 2 suits for recovering our equipment, save the other 2 suits for the assault." "Makes sense, sir," Williams agreed, and helped Taylor attach his helmet. "Spotter team," I asked over my Z-phone. "How's it looking?" The spotter team was 2 people on a hill upriver, where they had a good view. Setting up a spotter team is what I should have done before we tried to cross the river. "Good, sir. Some ice coming down. Nothing like before." Through their Z-phones, I could see what they were seeing. Widely scattered pieces of ice. A diver should be able to avoid them without too much trouble. We didn't have much of a choice anyway. "The ice situation is manageable. Are you good in there?" I asked over my Z-phone earpiece to Taylor. "Good," Taylor replied over the radio. With his helmet faceplate closed, he gave us a thumbs up. "We've never used these for swimming." "Understood. Do your best. Don't rush to get to the RV. Go out and practice swimming first. You can't risk you crashing into the RV or breaking the suit on a rock or getting hit by ice." "Approach the RV from downstream," I advised stupidly. SEAL didn't need my advice about underwater operations. Taylor walked confidently to the shore, stepped in carefully, then awkwardly, as he got in deeper and the current threatened to knock his feet out from under him. "We're going to dive in now. The footing is loose here," he said, and leapt into the water. For a heart-stopping moment, he disappeared under the surface. We could hear him breathing heavily on the radio. Then he popped to the surface, swimming strongly, making progress against the current. "I'm getting used to it," he reported. "The power in this suit is really incredible. The stabilizers help. I don't know that I can control the suit without them. They do a lot of the work for me." "Keep going," Williams ordered. "Go up to that rock, turn around, and see how it is moving with the current. Watch out for that ice." "I see it." For 20 minutes, not venturing out any further than the sunken RV, Taylor swam on the surface, under the surface, with the current, against the current, dodging chunks of ice. "I'm ready, sir. I got the hang of this. I want to recon the RV now." "What do you think?" I asked Williams. He thought a moment and replied, "Typically, we'd call a rest before proceeding." "I'm good, sir. Really, I am," Taylor said. He was treading water easily, just downstream from the sunken RV. "This suit does most of the work for you. It's very strong. The radar even works pretty good underwater. I can see underwater obstacles on the faceplate display. I'd like to go now, sir. This may take a while and we're losing daylight. And I hear the wind is going to pick up soon." "I recommend you go, sir," Williams said. "Lieutenant, I know nothing about underwater recovery," I admitted. "This is your operation. Get us another suit first, so we can have 2 divers working together." Our 3 SEALs worked through the night, using 2 suits. With people on land acting as spotters for ice jumps, the divers were able to avoid a single accident, other than a minor incident of one diver getting a foot tangled in cables inside the RV. It took only a minute to cut himself free, and he was never in any danger. The wind hit us after dark, and the divers took a break for an hour until the worst of the weather had blown over us. Taylor first recovered all the components of the second suit in 7 dives. He assembled the recovered suit, checked it out, and Williams declared it ready for use. Williams took 1 dive with Taylor to learn. Then Taylor led Williams inside the RV, working as a team. As ordered, they got the other 2 powered suits first. Then I instructed Williams to bring up tents and food before weapons. Everyone on shore was still shivering, and I thought we couldn't risk people becoming seriously ill. By that time, Williams was confident in the SEAL's diving abilities, but the RV was solidly wedged against a rock and not going anywhere. By the middle of the following morning, they had recovered everything we truly needed from the sunken RV, and incredibly, even the stupid body doll. At first I was a little bit pissed. Not that I would continue to be taunted by Barney, but that one of our SEALs had risked his life and expended precious suit power to recover a stuffed doll. Williams calmed me down, explaining that the windshield had broken sometime during the night and the body had torn loose and ended up wedged under a seat. He had brought the body back as a sort of mascot, a good luck charm. And I had to admit people had cheered loudly when he emerged from the river, holding Barney above his head. So, we were stuck with it. Damn it. The 2 suits that had been used by the SEALs were down to less than 15% of their normal power charge. The one Taylor started with had only 12%. The energy required for swimming against the river current had drained power quickly from the suits, and because of the frigid water, the suits had to run their heaters, draining power even faster. Suits can't transfer power one to the other, Smythe observed bitterly. We've got 2 disassembled, fully charged suits, and 2 that will only last maybe 1 day of walking. Yeah. Hey, Skippy, I asked, can you run the math for us on how much weight each of the depleted suits can carry for the best trade-off between cargo capacity and range? We'll remove the helmet and arms from the depleted suits. Please, Joe, that kind of kindergarten arithmetic is beneath me. Since you asked, I recommend a payload of 57 kilos for each suit. That will allow travel of roughly 60 kilometers in the terrain you have in front of you. Great, thank you, Skippy. To Smythe, I said, having suits carry part of the load for a while will help us ease into walking. Sitting in the RV too many days made my legs stiff. Take the helmets and arms off the 2 suits we'll be using as pack mules and bury them along with whatever else we're not taking with us. Divvy up the loads first, so I can see how much each person will be carrying. And Captain, sir, I know you Special Forces types are hardcore. I do not want to see anyone so loaded down with gear that they risk injury or being too worn out when we get to the scavenger camp. Skippy made his pizza delivery. We can count on replenishing our food supply. I want to move out in 2 hours. That will give us 7 hours of daylight for walking and setting up camp tonight. We're going to take it easy the first day. Yes, sir, Smythe said, and I could see in his eyes he was unconvinced, and probably regretting that the team included me and 2 civilians. Good. Plan for me to carry ammo packs and part of a suit. Don't worry, Captain, I added after seeing his skeptical look. If I can't handle it, I will tell you. Leaving Smythe to bark orders, I walked over to Doctors Zheng and Tanaka, who were helping sort through a pile of wet, muddy clothing. It was all wet from being in the river, and despite laying out a collapsed tent to keep the clothes off the ground, most of it had some mud smeared here and there. How are you? I'd be better if I could get into some dry clothes, Zheng admitted. Colonel, training for triathlons can involve getting cold and wet for a while. I'm used to that. What I'm not used to is not getting a shower and warm, dry clothes after. It's tiring. This is like one of those 24-hour endurance events that I've always avoided. If I were one of my patients, Tanaka remarked, I would be treating myself for exposure and possible hypothermia. I understand that. We'd all be doing a lot better if the RV hadn't sunk. We're going to start walking in about 2 hours. I know that will help me warm up. We'll be walking further than planned. We hope to stretch the RV's power supply for another 2 days. Don't worry, we anticipated setbacks in the schedule. You only need to carry your personal gear and medical supplies. The Spec Ops teams will take everything else. What are you carrying? Tanaka asked. My personal gear plus ammunition and part of an armored suit. This is not going to be easy. I really appreciate you coming with us and the sacrifices you're making. We'll get through it, Zheng said with determination. I hope this is all a waste of our time. Oh, I said in surprise. Why? Because, she explained, if you need doctors on this mission, something will have gone wrong, won't it? We began the walk without ceremony. Once I was satisfied people were not carrying unrealistic loads, I gave Smythe the go-ahead order, and he sent 2 men ahead as scouts. Knowing what the terrain along our projected path looked like from satellite images was one thing. Seeing the real conditions on the ground was quite another. The scouts would check out our route, advise of shortcuts, impassable terrain, and hopefully avoid everyone else having to double back. Smythe planned to rotate the scout duties. 2 people in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Being a scout was a highly sought-after assignment, as the scouts carried only light loads and weren't tramping along in well-trodden mud with the rest of us. I began walking with the Rangers out of service loyalty, then dropped back to the column to check on the SEAL team. While the rest of us had been shivering on shore trying to catch sleep in shifts, the 3 SEALs had worked through the night. How are you, Lieutenant? We're all right, sir, Williams answered. Compared to some of our training, this is a piece of cake. Well, the food is better, Garcia said while eating something out of an MRE pouch. Any food is good at this point, Taylor agreed. When we came out here, I didn't think the sea part of sea, air, land, and SEAL would be of any use, Williams admitted. I nodded. Lieutenant, one thing I've learned is you never know what you'll need out here. It pays to have a wide variety of capabilities with you. I didn't think an archaeologist or geologist would be useful in space, and now I'm glad we brought them along. Finding those ruins has given Skippy a puzzle he can't explain. The strangest things can have a use out here, even the knowledge of, what was that, Skippy? 17th century Hungarian poetry? Correct, he said. Williams looked at me in complete surprise. It's a long story, I said simply. You've seen how Skippy can get off topic at times. Although, as I pointed out at the time, Skippy continued, even a cursory familiarity of European romantic literature of the Baroque. Yes, Skippy, I interrupted as Williams broke into a knowing grin. Thank you. Another time, okay? You always say that, but there's never a time you deem as appropriate, Skippy said in a peevish tone. Man, I am trying to bring culture to monkeys, and this is the thanks I get. Tell you what, Skippy, I winked to Williams. You get us safely off this rock, and I will dedicate 2 full hours for you to regale me with whatever topic you desire, without interruption. You say that now, but have I ever made a commitment to you and not kept it? Like leaving Earth and coming out here on this fool's errand to find your magic radio? Perhaps you have a point. 2 hours, huh? I shall prepare accordingly. You're not going to regret this, Joe. Crap, I was regretting it already. Taking one for the team, sir? Williams asked. We appreciate it. Shaking my head ruefully, I replied, you have no idea. Damn, I was tired. And this was only the first freaking day, not even a full day. For the past hour, the straps of my pack could no longer be adjusted not to be uncomfortable. They were digging into my shoulders and hips. Also, for the past hour, I'd been watching clouds build in the northern sky, and the wind had been gusting in our faces. Skippy, I asked, weather report. Sucky, with a 100% chance of it continuing to be sucky. We're going to get rain in about 2 hours, maybe less. The rain should be gone by morning, most of it anyway. Thank you, Skippy. Captain Smythe. I raised my voice so he could hear over the wind, as he was 50 meters ahead of me. He waited for me to catch up. I hustled as best I could without completely losing my dignity. Take 5, everyone, I shouted. To Smythe, I said, time to look for a place to camp for the night. I want us to set up camp within the hour. Sir, he looked at his watch. There's plenty of daylight remaining. Captain, I said, pulling the pack straps wide to give my aching shoulders a break. This is why you need me with you. When you're on a march in the SAS, no one wants to be the first to call for a halt, right? It's a matter of pride, sir. Exactly. It's even worse here because the SAS don't want to stop before the Rangers, who don't want to stop before the Chinese, who don't want to stop before the Indian paratroopers, and so on. I'm not special forces, so I can call a halt without my pride getting hurt. and every one of us could use a rest. Skippy says there's heavy rain coming. I pointed to the clouds rolling in from the northeast. I don't want us to get caught out in that. We're still ahead of schedule, and there's no reason for us to push unnecessarily. The last thing we need is people risking further exposure in this climate. Yes, sir. Another hour. I don't tell the scouts ahead to find us a spot. 40 minutes later, Smythe touched his E-phone earpiece, talked with someone, then dropped back to walk with me. There's a spot up ahead where we can camp, sir. And I'd say there's another campsite a bit further, but that spot could get a bit dodgy if we get heavy rain. On his e-phone, he showed me the images the scouts had taken of the two sites. The one further away was in the shelter of a bluff, protecting us from the wind. It also had a stream that could overflow and flood the campsite if the rain came down heavily. Yeah, that further site is out. Too risky. Last thing we need is for everything to get wet again. The other site was a flat spot on the south side of the hill. It was more exposed to the gusty winds. It also wasn't going to flood. We only have to walk over that hill anyway. We'll set up there. I felt like a scoutmaster on the worst Boy Scout backpacking trip of all time. Selecting campsites, making sure everyone had dry socks. At least here I didn't have to worry about parents complaining that their little Jimmy had come home with blisters and a mysterious rash. The next morning I already had sore muscles in places that I didn't know had muscles. Everyone was sore and tired. Everyone got up early that morning. No one complained. Everyone pitched in to strike camp and get us on our way. After half an hour, my muscles loosened up and I felt better. Then, Skippy called me. Hey, Joe. Hi, Skippy, what is it? You busy? I want to tell you something I discovered. Not busy at all, Skippy. We're walking, and we've got a whole day of walking ahead of us. At least it's not raining right now. That'll change. You're going to get rain and sleet this afternoon. Sleet? Crap, I hate this planet. Unfortunately, Newark does not yet have a comment section on TripAdvisor for you to leave a complaint. So, what I want to tell you is I've been running an analysis with Dr. Venkman. Oh, wow. Venkman was an astrophysicist or something like that. I read her profile and I still wasn't clear on her exact specialty. She's been helping you? That's great, Skippy. It is decidedly not great, Joe. Having a monkey looking over my shoulder is a truly ginormous, epic, unbelievable... Darling, there are not words to properly describe how much that is a pain in the ass. You know how annoying it is for me to try to explain even the most basic science to your dim monkey brain? By now, I wasn't even mildly insulted by that remark. Yeah. Mostly I tell you not to bother explaining sciencey stuff to me. Exactly. That's awesome. I get to yank your chain, and you don't waste my time with worthless attempts to elevate your understanding of things way beyond your capability. It's like you can teach a dog to shake a paw, sit, lie down, and even roll over. But you would never try training a dog to do your taxes or drive a car. Although that would be awesome. Except if the dog was driving and decided to chase a squirrel with your car. Agreed, Skippy chuckled. Anyway, when I'm talking to you, I don't have to waste time trying to think of a way to dumb things down enough for you. Yeah, I could just make up stuff and you'd never know. But you don't do that, right? Not as far as you know. With Dr. Venkman, hey, I heard that. Not as far as I know. Does it really matter, Joe? I guess not. Truthfully, no. I don't make up stuff for you. It wouldn't be any fun. Now, with a slightly, and I do mean slightly, infinitesimally slightly smarter monkey like Dr. Venkman, it would be great fun to make up stuff because she knows just enough to almost know the difference, and I'd be kind of laughing my ass off at her. But you don't do that either, not as far as she knows. Skippy, come on. Our science team came out here to learn how the universe works. You leading them astray isn't helping. It isn't fair either. These people are risking their lives out here. Man, you are a total buzzkill. Remind me never to invite me to a party, Joe. Those dummies on your science team, and man, I hate to use the word science so loosely, volunteered to come out here. Look, in a lot of cases, I can't tell your egghead scientists the whole truth because such knowledge is too dangerous for monkeys. Not just monkeys, too dangerous for any species at your level of development. Some of it is too dangerous even for the Rindalu. I'm not simply insulting monkeys. This is serious stuff, Joe. Oh, yeah. Oh, dum-dum. He paused. what we were talking about? Skippy couldn't keep track of a conversation and he called me the dum-dum. I let it go. There's some kind of analysis you're doing with Vector. Oh, yeah. Although to say that I'm performing the analysis with her is like when you were 4 years old. Your father would put you on his lap when he drove the pickup truck so you could help him drive. Incidentally, that wasn't the smartest thing to do. That old truck doesn't have an airbag, Skippy, and there's no traffic on the back roads up where I grew up. Exactly. What if you hit a moose? Oh my God. Did you ever see a moose, Skippy? You hit one of those big freaking things, a children's car seat isn't much help. Well, maybe. Whatever. I survived childhood. Is that how the brain damage happened? Very funny. No, that's just me. My condolences. To your entire species, not just you. Back to what I was saying. Venkman helping with my analysis is like little Jody helping your father drive the truck. It's more hindrance than help. She is just smart enough to ask a whole lot of stupid questions, whereas you're too dumb to even ask questions in the first place. That's why I prefer working with you, Joe. Thank you, I think. You're welcome, he said after insulting me. Getting back to the point. We ran an analysis. Technically, I ran the analysis while she sat in the corner playing with blocks and eating sticky Cheerios on the floor. Ha! I had to laugh at that mental image. See, I would play with the toy trucks instead. Much more fun than blocks. I don't take your word on that, Joe. The results of our analysis are intriguing. They are so intriguing, so disturbing, so inexplicable, that I want us to gather data for further analysis. Someday, I mean, not right now. Skippy, I have no problem with gathering further data. First, you need to get us off this planet. What, is so intriguing? You find a tiny difference in the concentration of interstellar dust particles somewhere again? No, you dumbass. What is intriguing is... Here, I need to go back a bit and give you some context. Okay, I'm all ears. I won't interrupt you, I promise. He had good timing, because we had started walking up a long hill and I was rapidly getting out of breath. You remember that star system where I was sure, or pretty, very certain, Okay, yeah, smart guy. Stupid monkey, he grumbled. I know you're thinking it. Go ahead and say it. Say it. I was wrong. Wrong. There. You happy now, you big jerk face? He grumbled. Skippy? Yeah? I have no freaking clue, I said out of breath. What are you talking about? We've been to a lot of star systems. Which one is this? Maybe I'm somewhat too sensitive about the very few times when I am wrong. Actually, in this case, I thought I was wrong, but I wasn't. I wasn't! Ha! I was not wrong. I was right all along. So you were wrong about being wrong. Exactly. Which means you were still wrong about something. I was... Oh, shut up. Do you want to hear my information or not? I've been trying, I gasped, to hear it. If you will please get to the point. Damn, you are absent-minded sometimes. Your mind wanders so far, I wonder if it's ever going to come back. Me? Have you ever heard yourself talk, Joe? You start a sentence, and halfway through, you've changed the subject, verb, and object 3 times. Half the time you're talking, by the time you finish, I've lost track of where you started. And you've lost track, too. Oh, all right. Maybe I'm a little guilty of that, I admitted. That wasn't the first time people had remarked on my scatterbrained thoughts. I had an elementary school teacher, Miss Evans. She tried to diagram one of my sentences on the whiteboard. I thought her head would explode. Anyway, back to the subject, please. Fine, he huffed. The star system I was talking about is the one where I was very confident we would find an unmapped elder site. Extra confident. Something about force lines in the galaxy? Yes. And we didn't find any sign of an elder presence, even though I requested the Dutchman to fly around the system so I could perform an extensive sensor sweep. I remember, I said, using as few words as possible, being out of breath. Even after gathering sensitive sensor data, I was originally unable to determine why that star system did not contain an elder site. What I was trying to do with the sensor data was to determine whether that particular star system truly was an outstanding candidate for an elder site. And what I found was that yes, it is a place where the elders should have had a facility of some sort. Certainly they should have placed a communications node there. Why we did not find any sign the elders had ever been in that star system, therefore, has been a complete mystery to me. So much that I began to doubt my analytical skills. I began to doubt myself. Yet, you bravely soldiered through your doubts and remained an arrogant asshole the whole time. Truly, I have reserves of arrogance I didn't even know I had. Not something to brag about, Skippy. Not something for you to brag about, monkey boy. To continue my story, it remained a mystery to me until I was trying to explain to Dr. Venkman what happened here with Newark. She, and the rest of what you monkeys outrageously, criminally refer to as a science team, asked me a bunch of moronic questions about orbital mechanics. Seriously, a bunch of booger-eating first graders could do that simple math. While attempting to explain the math to Venkman and the other mental munchkins to the point where I was longing for the sweet release of death, it occurred to me to run a check of orbits in that star system where there should have been an elder site. And guess what I discovered with my first grade math? I guess that boogers don't taste good. I've never tasted my own boogers, Joe. Oh, for crying out loud, Skippy, you're not supposed to eat other people's boogers. What the hell is wrong with you? Because people around me could only hear my end of the conversation, I was getting a lot of strange looks from the walking party. I haven't... Oh, forget it. Fine, I'll tell you what I discovered. My analysis shows that I was right in the first place. There was an elder site in that star system, on a moon, orbiting the largest gas giant. There. Was it concealed by a stealth field? No. Conceal an entire moon in a stealth field. What the hell would be the point of doing that? Even the sensors on a Kristang ship could detect the presence of a stealth moon by the effect of its gravity on the other moons. Man, you have stupid notions sometimes. No, dum-dum. By saying was, I meant past tense, like there used to be an elder site. It's not there now. That gas giant planet used to have an additional moon. What happened to it? Did it get pushed out of orbit like Newark? No. And that is the intriguing, disturbing part, Joe. My analysis shows the moon which housed the elder site was destroyed. And by destroyed, I don't mean it got hit by something and it broke into several pieces. I mean it was obliterated. Vaporized. Looking back over the sensor data, now that I know what I was looking for, there are tiny particles of that moon scattered all over that star system. Likely part of the moon's mass escaped the star system entirely. That isn't the only disturbing part. Whatever happened to that moon, it was so violent that it ripped away a large part of the gas giant's atmosphere. I estimate between 12 and 14% of the planet's mass was blown out of its own orbit. For comparison, 12% of that planet is equivalent to 20 Earths. That much mass being blown away caused the planet's orbit to change suddenly, and that disrupted the entire system. It even made the star wobble noticeably. What has the energy to vaporize an entire moon? I asked in amazement. Me saying that aloud made people's heads turn. They must have thought I was talking about something that happened recently in Newark's star system. I waved my hands and gave a thumbs up to let them know it was not a problem for us. Not an immediate problem for us. Elder tech is the only possibility, Joe. That is an extremely disturbing fact. First Newark, then that star system. Someone pushed Newark out of orbit, presumably to commit genocide against a low-tech species. Someone also completely destroyed a moon. I assume that was to destroy the elder site there, because there is no other conceivable reason anyone would care about such a worthless star system. Holy shit, I said, feeling a chill up my spine. Joe, if we are ever threatened with technology of that level, appealing to a higher power would be the best option. You might want to avoid blasphemy. Do you have any guesses about who did this? And why? As to who? No. I have absolutely no idea. As to why? As I already said, the only reason to blow up a moon that makes any sense is to destroy the elder facility, whatever it was. An unpleasant thought occurred to me, and I stepped to the side and stopped walking, gesturing to Captain Smythe to keep going. I would catch up to them. Hey, I remember something the Burgermeister told me. You know, the hamster woman who was secretly the deputy administrator of Paradise? I know who she is, yes. Good. This Burgermeister. She told me the whole war started because the Maxolks found a stash of elder weapons and attacked the Ringaloo, who used elder weapons to fight back. And then both sides got the crap kicked out of them by the Sentinels, or something like that. The devices the elders left behind to make sure nobody messed with the stuff they left behind? Yeah. And? Did something like that have happened to that moon? Maybe some lower-tech species found a store of elder weapons on that moon and screwed with them, and one of them exploded by accident? No. I waited for Skippy to say more. When he didn't say anything for enough time to be awkward, I said, no. You know that because why? Joe, you asked who and why. I told you how. Some kind of elder device, not necessarily a weapon. You did not ask when. The math of orbital mechanics tells me the moon was destroyed about 2.7 million years ago. The Rindaloo did not achieve spaceflight until long after that timeline. There were not, as far as I know, any star-faring species in the Milky Way galaxy between the Elders and the Rindaloo, so no way could the Maxolts or the Rindaloo have been responsible for destroying that moon. Wait, a bell rang in my mind. 2.7 million years ago. That moon was destroyed around the same time that Newark was pushed out of orbit? Yes, this is all extremely suspicious. Damn it. We're back to the question of who again, then. That is an important question we need to answer. Joe, as I have said before, this scares the hell out of me. Damn it, things used to be so simple. Difficult, yes, but simple. We find an elder communications node, I contact the collective, and it would be mission accomplished. Now, I don't know what to do. Wait, Skippy, we are going to attack the Crystal in order to get the AI and a comm node. Now you're not sure whether you want them? This is a hell of a time to change your freaking mind. No, Joe, sorry. What I meant was... Damn, talking with you biological trash bags is not easy. All I meant was, things have gotten way complicated. I used to think I knew who I am, pretty much, and who the elders were, or are, and how I fit into the universe. What I was hoping for was that I contact the collective and that solves all my problems. Now I'm thinking the effort to contact the collective may only be the beginning of a long struggle for me. Please, I do need you to get the AI and the comm node away from those hateful lizards, and I truly appreciate all the hard work you and your team are doing. Of course, when I say appreciate, I say that in the definition of grateful. Not that I can actually appreciate how physically demanding it is for you monkeys to walk all that way. Oh, I said, that was much better. Thanks, Skippy. Just like you ignorant monkeys cannot truly appreciate how difficult it is for me to rebuild a Thread and starship out of raw materials up here. Because you can't. Hey, Skippy, I also appreciate that you were making the effort to be an arrogant asshole. Oh, no problem, Joe. Damn. Sometimes I couldn't tell when he was being sarcastic and when he was being simply clueless. Skippy continued. However, I am disappointed in you, Joe. You completely missed the most important point of my story. What? What is that? What the hell could be more important than a freaking moon being vaporized at a time when no sentient species occupied the galaxy? That I was right all along. The star system did have an elder site just as I predicted. Duh! I'm the best, baby! Woohoo! Well, for crying out loud, I said in disgust. That's what you think is the most important thing? Sure. Come on, there isn't anything we can do about that moon now, right? Chapter 24. 3 nights later, after 3 hard days of marching that had every muscle in my body aching, we gathered for dinner around a pathetic campfire. During the day, we gathered broken pieces of the small, low-growing shrubs that were clustered around rocks on Newark to make a fire. The fire was for psychological effect. It wasn't hot enough to cook much of anything, although a couple of Brits and Indians heated up water for tea, and everyone got a small cup. For Newark, out in the open, it was a nice evening. Temperature comfortably above freezing. It hadn't rained since early that morning, and the wind had died down to a steady breeze out of the east. The team needed this break together, instead of eating a hurried dinner in cramped tents and crashing to exhausted sleep like we'd been doing. "Hello, Colonel Joseph Bishop," Skippy said over my Z-phone speaker. "How are you this evening?" "Fine," I mumbled over a mouthful of MRE peanut butter and crackers. "We're eating dinner around a campfire, sort of. What's up?" "Well, sir, I have an exciting opportunity for you. For a limited time, we are offering a greatly reduced price on wonderful timeshares on Newark." Damn. I had to laugh, trying not to spew precious crackers on my lap. "Skippy, who the hell would buy a timeshare on this miserable planet?" Joe, he scolded me. "You're missing the point entirely. Think about this. purchase our basic timeshare package of 1 week on Newark, that means you do not have to be on Newark the other 51 weeks a year. Oh, everyone around me laughed. In that case, hell yes, sign us all up. You won't regret this, sir. Seriously, Joe, how's it going down there? I know what the weather is like. That doesn't tell me how our merry band of pirates are faring right now. By the way, it looks like you have a mix of snow and sleet coming tomorrow afternoon. Then it will clear up and go back to damp, chilly, and partly sunny. Snow? Crap, isn't this almost summer on this freaking planet? And we're on the freaking equator here. You are not acting as our travel agent the next time we look for a planet. Skippy, what we have down here is officially a not very merry band of pirates. The gravity is too high, the temperature is too low, and it's hard to breathe, even when you're only walking. Other than that, we're doing just wonderful. How's it going up there? Well, funny you should ask. Oh, shit. I hated that well, thing he did. And by now, the whole team knew what it meant when he did that. They all looked at me with alarm. I put in my Z-phone earpiece and turned off the speakerphone feature so we could talk privately. Not wanting to be rude, I stood up and stepped away from the fire. What is it this time? Did somebody forget to turn the stove off before we left? Man, I was hoping whatever the problem was, it was simple. It's not like I can go back up there and fix it, Skippy. The stove is not a problem, since I already mentioned that the ship currently does not have a galley. I'm working on that. Anyway, to be serious for a moment, Joe, one of the drop ships had a slight accident. Slight, like you scratched the paint or dented the fender? No, slight like a gas pocket on the moon exploded when I drilled into it. The drop ship flipped over and now it's stuck in a hole. What the hell, Skippy? Damn it, I leave you nice toys to play with and you break them. I can't trust you with anything valuable up there. Hey, to be fair, I'm working almost blind up here. That moon contained the materials I need, and its orbit currently has it on the other side of the planet. I was using the drop ship's crappy sensors to see what I was doing. The sensors didn't detect the gas pocket because the Theranin, here's a real shocker for you, didn't design their dropships to be used as drilling rigs. Anyway, I have another dropship on the scene, and I'm using combots to dig the first dropship out. It should be fine, except we'll need a new one, because the cabin got kind of crushed and it won't hold air pressure anymore. Also, I wouldn't try flying it down through an atmosphere at this point. The heat shield is not in good shape. Bluff it for me, Skippy, okay? What? Bottom line up front. Bluff. Tell me the important stuff first. Come on. You know U.S. military slang. Oh, yeah. All right. The bottom line is this little accident will add a week, maybe more, to the schedule. Most likely 16 days. I have to divert resources to recover and repair the dropship. And while I'm doing that, the dropship won't be mining ore for me. While I'm fixing that busted dropship, I will still be working on the Dutchman. However, work on the ship will be delayed. There is no way around it before you ask me some stupid questions. This was always a substantial risk, Joe. My original estimate had likely delays built into the schedule, so this delay only adds 8 days to when I expect the ship to be functional again. I sighed. Understood, Skippy. We're doing the impossible up there, we appreciate it. And I won't insult you by telling you to be careful. Indeed, you do not need to tell me to be careful. I'm working on the edge here already, Joe. It will not take much to tip the scales, so that I'm using up resources faster than I'm creating new ones. You won't let that happen, right? I asked hopefully. I'm doing my best. What scared me was his voice didn't have the usual snarky cockiness to it. He was scared, or at least very concerned. And from Newark, there was absolutely nothing we could do about it. Skippy's pizza delivery had soft landed in a swampy area. We had to wade through bone-chilling water up to our waists to get to it. Part of me was wondering if Skippy had done that on purpose, although I'm sure he had done the best he could from the other side of the star system. By the time we got through the icy water to the package, I couldn't feel my legs, or my balls. The container was roughly twice the size of a large footlocker. It was jammed packed, partly with medical supplies we might need after the assault. Most of it was food. It's sort of food. It was dehydrated sludges, all of it. What the assault team needed was basic nutrition, not gourmet food. We got the container back to dry land and popped it open. Soldiers began pulling out the contents and laying it out on the ground for sorting. Chocolate banana, plain banana, strawberry banana, banana curry. Sir, most of these are some type of banana flavor, Williams announced in consternation. Oh, crap, I slapped my forehead. Skippy thinks monkeys love bananas. I groaned, frustrated. If we get another delivery, I'll request a better variety of flavors. Captain Gomez uncapped a sludge, poured water in to rehydrate it, shook it up, and drained it in one gulp. Food is fuel, he shrugged. We can eat real food when we get back to the Flying Dutchman. Right. Everyone, I reminded people, we bury our trash. Can't have a pristine ship seeing empty sludge packets lying on the ground. And let's drag the empty container into water deep enough that it will sink. Put some rocks in to make sure. To set an example, I picked up a sludge packet without checking the flavor, poured water in and gulped it down. It was maybe supposed to be plain banana flavor. You couldn't quite tell with the Rhineland sludges. Most of them had a nasty, artificial taste. When we got the sludge supply back out of the swamp and unpacked, we divided them up evenly. Does everyone have real food left? I asked Smythe quietly. I think so, sir. Everyone ate a good breakfast this morning. I saw that. I've been watching people for signs of fatigue, nagging injuries, and that no one was skipping on nutrition. I have 8 MREs left. I'm going to save them for anyone who's wounded. Sir? Captain, I've survived on sludges before. It's not new to me. They provide energy, and they will sustain you. You will also get heartily sick of drinking them very quickly. If anyone is wounded out here, it's going to be quite some time before they can get full medical treatment to warn the Dutchman. I'd like them to have at least real food to eat, keep their spirits up. Oh, good thinking, he agreed. I'll get a bag together. Smythe put an empty bag on the ground, and I asked people to donate one real food item, explaining that the bag would be reserved for injured soldiers or to be rationed out as treats after the battle while we waited for Skippy to fix the Dutchman. I have 8 incredibly delicious MREs here, I said as I held them up for view. 5 American, 2 French. I nodded to Jerome, who had traded with me earlier. And I peered at the wrapper. I guess this one is Chinese. I'll start the kitty by donating all of them. I'm tired of carrying the damn things anyway. That drew a chuckle, and I put the MREs in the bag. One only, if you have it to spare. Keep the rest for yourself. Trust me, you are going to get very tired of existing on nothing but sludges. He speaks the truth, Jerome testified, sticking his tongue out disgustedly, and we bumped fists. Neither of us wanted to remember that unpleasant aspect of our first time aboard the Flying Dutchman. We got a good donation, and the bag then held 35 real meals of various types. None of it could be considered yummy. All of it had to taste better than a sludge. Smythe switched off the duties of carrying the goodie bag between soldiers, and we were extra super careful with it while crossing streams. I noticed that for the next 4 days, no one that I could see ate anything except sludges. Our shared suffering in that regard was a bonding experience. To spare the inexperienced the worst of the ordeal, I falsely let it be known that I didn't mind the plain banana flavor, which actually was among the very worst of the sludges. The plain banana, unmasked by other less unpleasant flavors like chocolate, strawberry, or even curry, was just bland, artificial, gritty, and had an oily mouthfeel that lingered nastily on your tongue. It was my fault for not requesting a better variety of flavors from Skippy. Although now that I thought about it, there hadn't been a whole lot of sludges left aboard the Dutchman when we began the second voyage, and no one had thought to request Skippy to make more. No one. Like me. Since no one liked the banana flavors, maybe Skippy had sent us whatever he had left over from the first voyage. That was doubly my fault. Either way, I ended up with nothing but dehydrated plain banana sludges, having traded away all the less nasty flavors. Every sip of oily, gritty, bland sludge reminded me about the value of planning ahead. This is certainly a lesson I wasn't going to forget. All I can say is, when we finally got back aboard the rebuilt Flying Dutchman, I was going to eat delicious, juicy cheeseburgers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day the first week, even if we no longer had a galley and I had to grill the burger over a reactor. When we collected the real food, I selected a sludge at random from my pack, popped the cap, and poured water in to rehydrate it. Drink up, everyone. Enjoy your yummy sludge. And hey, today is Friday. Only 2 more working days until Monday. Despite how tired I was that night, I walked away from the campsite in order to talk to Skippy in private. While I told myself that I wanted to thank him for the food, I had to admit that I missed talking with his irascible self. No one had insulted me for several days. It felt weird. "Hey, Skip, how you doing up there?" "Busy," he said tersely. "Oh," I said, feeling awkward. "Sorry. I'll leave you alone now." "No need, Joe. I'm not that busy. At the moment, I am in the extremely delicate process of creating exotic matter in what used to be one of our cargo holds, using basically a coffee pot, a missile warhead, and 2 combots that, despite my best effort at modifications, absolutely suck at anything but combat. If this goes south, even on Newark, you'll need to shield your eyes from the explosion. But don't worry, I am very confident. Fairly confident. Somewhat confident. Okay, yes, I'm making this shit up as I go, all right? Give me a freaking break. And I wouldn't be too hopeful about the ultimate fate of that coffee pot, in case you were wondering. However, carrying on an intelligent conversation with one of you monkeys takes up like 1/octillionth of my brain power, and half that when I'm speaking with you, so what's up? There was the Skippy I knew. Simply wanted to say, sincerely from the bottom of my stomach, thank you for the food delivery. I was going to throw in 3 breadsticks, but, you know, what used to be the galley is currently highly radioactive, so that was not an option. We appreciate the thought, Skippy. Right then, I couldn't think of anything else to say. Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. He sounded like he felt the conversation was lagging too. Before I got any more awkward, I said, "Well, I'll let you go. How did the day go? I've been tracking your progress. Your group is making impressive progress." It seems Skippy wanted to keep talking. "Well, we didn't roll or sink an RV today. That's progress. Everyone here is sore, not that the Spec Ops people will admit it. Our muscles have adjusted to the extra gravity. Our joints and tendons are slower catching up to the extra strain. I stepped in a hole and twisted an ankle yesterday morning. But did you talk to one of the doctors about it?" "No, I taped it up myself." He sighed. "Joe, you brought 2 civilians with you to have doctors on the team. You're making them walk all this way for nothing? Skippy, they didn't come with us for something as simple as someone tweaking an ankle. They're here to take care of combat injuries. There's not much to be done other than taping my ankle. I can't stop walking. I don't want to waste their time, and I don't want Spec Ops people to think I'm weak. Joe. Once in a great while, you have a good idea. The rest of the time, you are dumb as a rock. Surely you are not the only monkey in your party with an injury that is being either ignored or attended to amateurishly." "Probably not. I thought of the various people I saw moving around stiffly in the mornings. And by not seeking the best treatment available, they risk becoming combat ineffective. As the commander, shouldn't you be setting an example? Crap. Skippy, you not only can build a starship out of moon dust, you know more about monkey, damn it, human psychology than I do. I should know that. You're right. I will talk to one of the doctors tonight, and soon before they fall asleep. That's enough about me. How are you doing?" "Good enough. I've been monitoring the progress of the archaeology team. They have found a new chamber behind a wall. It was buried in a rock fall, perhaps at the same time when the main part of the cavern washed away and the roof collapsed. Anticipating your question, Colonel Chang is making certain they are being safe and not taking unnecessary risks with the project. The team is very excited. They haven't told you about it yet. They have found fragments of bronze plates with what appears to be writing. Colonel Chang hopes to find more writing samples buried further down. This new chamber overall is shallow. Whatever is in there will not require a deep excavation." Wow, writing. That's awesome. Don't get your hopes up, Joe. This writing, if that's what it is, looks like nothing but scribbles. The only way we will ever be able to read any of it is if we find more samples, a lot more, with pictographs. We can hope, though. How are things going with you up there? Good. Good enough. No new setbacks to report. And while I have you, Joe, I've been thinking about that favor you asked. Huh? What favor? You already delivered the pizza. The favor about you and me riding off into the sunset together. Remember? You're studying up on how to fly the ship, so the 2 of us can drop the crew off at Earth after I contact the collective. Oh, yeah. I tried to keep the hopefulness out of my voice. I thought about it. And I can see why you think it's a good idea. I am willing to give it a shot. Unfortunately, my analysis has determined the scenario is extremely unlikely. As you know, my memory is vague concerning the collective. One thing I am certain about is that once I make contact, I will no longer be able to help you. I might not even be able to communicate with you in any way. I may, very suddenly, simply be gone. Oh, I hear you, Skippy. Thanks for telling me. Sorry. Skippy, you saved our entire home planet. You have nothing to apologize about. We all knew the risks when we came out here. I'm going to... I yawned. Talk to one of the doctors about my ankle. You have a good night, okay? You too, Joe. Sleep well. On the pizza delivery site, we had 2 solid days of walking over rolling hills and a steady, cold, dreary rain with wind blowing straight in our faces. For meals, we had cold, rehydrated sludges. At night, we collapsed in our tents and sleeping bags with wet clothes hanging on the line from the tent roof, dripping on us all night. In the morning, we got up and did it all again. The novelty of walking across an alien landscape, being the first humans wherever we went, was wearing off. Every single one of us wanted to get to the scavenger base, get the attack over with, and get back aboard the Flying Dutchman. Apparently, I had earned a measure of grudging respect from Smythe. He had taken to walking with me once I had demonstrated that I could keep up the pace. And I could, simply by concentrating on putting one foot in front of the other, hour after hour, day after day. What I could not do very well would be to carry a heavy pack all day in 14% higher gravity and oxygen equivalent to high altitude on Earth, and then go directly into combat. The Spec Ops people could. They trained for it, mentally prepared for it. At the end of the day, all I wanted to do was gulp down a nutritious sludge and sleep. A swirling gust of wind blew fat, cold raindrops right into my eyes. I wiped my eyes and lowered goggles from atop my head to protect from the stinging spray. They were fancy high-tech Kristan goggles that repelled water and didn't fog up inside. Even so, they were goggles, and wearing them constantly grew tiresome after a while. Lovely weather here, Captain, I said to Smythe, who had put his own goggles on. Is this what Scotland is like? No. Smythe looked surprised at my question. Scotland is rugged and beautiful, most times of the year. If you like the outdoors, it's a wonderful place. It is mostly open country like this. He swept his arm across the eastern horizon, partly obscured by rain and low clouds. And it can be like but also the rest of the island, of course. It took me a moment to realize that by the island, he meant Britain. As an American, I thought of Britain first as a country, not an island. When I hear the term island, I think of someplace tropical with palm trees and coconuts, and tropical drinks, with little umbrellas, and slices of pineapple. That's where you train? The SAS? In Scotland? Scotland? Sometimes. 22 SAS is based in Hereford near the Welsh border. Our selection training takes place in the Brecon Beacons of Wales. That area is somewhat similar to this here. The weather can be very unpredictable, with wind coming off the Irish Sea. That's one advantage of Newark, I suppose. The weather here is predictable, lousy all the time. My hometown in Maine can have bad weather. At least there the whole area is mostly covered with trees. It cuts the wind. And we have plenty of fuel for a campfire there. Have you ever been to Britain? He asked. I shook my head. Smythe went on. You would like the walking trails in Britain. In the States, I understand that your walking trails are mostly in the woods, and you cook your meals over a fire and sleep in tents. In Britain, we have walking trails that go from one village to the next. You can stop at a pub for lunch and dinner and stay in a guest house overnight. It's very popular, particularly in areas such as the Cotswolds and the Yorkshire Dales. That sure sounds tempting right about now. The trails go right into a village? Yes. The difference is, Smythe explained, most of your trails in the States were set up by governments on public land or on private land where the owner allows access. In Britain, the public has access across private lands because for thousands of years, peasants had right of access to get water, to drive their animals to market or to pasture. The current landowners can't block the public from walking across their land because of the historical right of access. There is a group which organizes what they call a mass trespass once a year, to walk all the trails in Britain in order to maintain the public's right of access. Huh, I said. Man, that would piss off a lot of people back home. America hasn't been around for long compared to Britain. Different standards, Smythe concluded. We stopped talking after that as the path took us up a long, steep hill, and I couldn't manage more than grunts. Even Smythe appeared weakly from the climb. We paused at the summit. The mountains of Afghanistan are like this. At altitude, you get to the top of a climb, he said, gasping. You want to catch your breath, but you can't. I nodded. I was with the 10th Infantry Division. The 10th used to specialize in mountain warfare. And they sent me to the jungles of Nigeria, and then to Paradise. The first place I was stationed on, Paradise, was so flat, it looked like Kansas. The rain stopped in mid-morning the next day. There was a strong, constant wind from the southeast this time that seemed to literally blow the clouds away. By early afternoon, the wind dropped to a pleasant breeze, the sun came out, and the temperature soared high enough that I stripped down to a long-sleeved shirt. People's spirits rose with the temperature. Grim faces replaced by grins, grunts replaced by laughter. Taking advantage of the break in the weather, I unrolled my damp sleeping bag, turned it inside out, and tied it to my pack so it could dry. Also, I hung wet socks from my belt. Everyone did something similar. The sunshine on my face actually felt warm, even a little hot at times. Captain, I said to Smythe, Skippy tells me this nice weather is going to last until around midnight, then we're getting rain showers. We're still ahead of schedule. I want a 2-hour break for lunch. We'll get the tent set up with flaps open so they can dry out, and we can string clotheslines from those rocks over there. We will walk a bit later into the night to make up the time. The ground ahead is pretty flat, and there's no large streams to cross until tomorrow. To my surprise, Smythe didn't protest the delay. We got tents and clotheslines set up quickly, and we all took a nice break in the sunshine, sitting or laying on dry rocks. It's not so bad now, I mused at Tanaka and Jane. We were sitting on a flat rock with our boots and socks off, rubbing our feet. The two civilians had held up very well to the rigors of our grueling hike across Newark. You know, I wonder what this area was like before. Before? Jane asked. And before Newark got pushed out of its original orbit, I explained. We're 700 kilometers from the equator here. This must have been what? Jungle? Desert? Something hot. People, the natives, they might have come here on vacation. I don't think their society had vacations. They probably didn't have the technology for leisure travel, Tanaka said. They had the wheel. That means roads, I pointed out defensively. Anyway, you know what I mean. This was a nice place back then. I looked around at the low, rolling hills, valleys crisscrossed by streams that sparkled in the sunlight. Like that hill over there, I pointed to the south. It has a nice view of that lake. It would have had nice breezes for cooling. I wonder if anyone lived up here. Zane shaded her eyes and looked around. I couldn't tell whether she was irritated that I disturbed the rest she'd earned. Most of this landscape was carved by glaciers when Newark was frozen solid before the orbit became elliptical. That lake, even that hill, may not have existed back then. That would be a big problem for archaeologists. Much of the evidence of civilization here, cities, buildings, roads, like you said, would have been scoured away by glaciers. The glaciers, even here, would have been substantial. The science team was having a debate over whether Newark's surface froze completely over or whether there might have been a strip of open ocean near the equator during summers. Perhaps because she saw the crestfallen look on my face, she quickly added, the natives didn't deserve what happened to this planet. No one does, except maybe the people who did this. What are the odds Newark is the only planet they threw out of orbit? I asked bitterly. My nice sunny good mood was fading. If I ever find those air methods, Colonel, Jane said and tapped my shoulder gently. We have a nice day here, a nice afternoon. Let's enjoy it while it lasts, okay? Enjoy it for the natives